I think everything has had a time and a place. So I feel like for the first few years, I was, genuinely enjoying the whole journey of freelancing and learning customer service and learning about myself and how my writing systems and everything. And I just think as a classic entrepreneur, 6 years into it now, you get bored. It's like that's you're probably the same way. Like once you do something for 5 or 6 years, you're like, okay, cool, that was great. I did it. Now what's the next thing I'm going to do?
If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button and click subscribe. For those of you listening on a podcast platform, be sure to subscribe on whatever platform that is and leave us a rating if you can. The more likes, ratings, and subscriptions that we get, the more we can spread the message and grow our community. So we also have a free Facebook group. It's called the Average Joe Finances Network. Check us out, join the group, join the community, ask questions, and become a part of the team. All of our other social media accounts are listed in our flow page, and we have them in the video or podcast description below. So I recorded an absolutely amazing episode with Alex Fasulo. She is a Fiverr millionaire. I'll explain a little bit more as we get into this. But guys, you're going to love this episode. Check it out. She has so much good information for people that want to get started freelancing, or, you want to start your next side hustle. This is a great episode for you. You don't want to miss it. Let's go. All right. Hey, how's it going, everybody? So today our guest is Alex Fasulo, and Alex is a Fiverr millionaire, a full-time freelance writer, freelance mentor, and coach. She recently started her own podcast called The Freelance Fairy Tales, and Alex is passionate about preparing individuals for the future of work, which she believes will be entirely remote. So Alex, I am super excited to have you on the show. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Mike. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I want to preface this with, I found you when I downloaded TikTok. You were actually the first real business profile that I found as I was scrolling through cats and all this other stuff. And, I was searching for a couple different hashtags like side hustles and real estate and all this other stuff. And then yours popped up and I'm like, what's she doing with all this freelance stuff? And particularly on Fiverr, I was like, I've used Fiverr a couple times. I've outsourced a bunch of stuff for my podcast and other things through there. So I'm like, let me see what she's doing. So I started following your channel and started watching all your videos. And I was amazed. I was like, she's really going all in and crushing it on Fiverr. So first of all, I just want to say congratulations to you for all of your success.
Thank you.
Definitely taken back by it. It's really awesome.
Oh.
So with that being said, the first question I like to ask everybody that comes on the show is, one that our listeners can get to know you a little bit more. So if you could, can you share with us a little bit about yourself and share your story?
Sure. So my story begins in upstate New York on a farm outside of Albany. I grew up kind of at the base of a little mountain range with ponies and everything. And I had a great childhood, and my mom was great. My sister's great and everything. And grew up 18. I went to college at SUNY Geneseo. For anyone who's in New York, I went to a state school. Graduated a year early, went right to work in Albany, politics, actually, which was short-lived for me. And then I went to New York City at 22, a year later. Every person from Albany, it's the big city move. It's 2 hours away. If you're on Long Island, it's, everyone wants to go to the city. So I applied to 200 jobs to get accepted to just one, which is classic New York City stats. And got accepted, moved to New York in under 2 weeks, was so excited, I'm heading to the big city and everything. And kind of all came crashing down when I started this job. And by the third day I was like, oh my God, I hate this so much. I hate this so much. I had that feeling of what have I done? Because I loved my coworkers in Albany. You know, they were great. I'm still in touch with all of them and some of my bosses. Like, they were great people. So I was thinking to myself, like, oh no, what have I done? And yeah, 4 weeks into it, a lot of people, you know, they know this story. I just quit. I didn't have a plan. I just knew I literally could not do another day. I like froze on the sidewalk, couldn't do it. And I was kind of afraid. I was like, you know, am I being a spoiled millennial? Is this just real adult life and I'm a brat or something? It was going through my head. And that night is, you know, when I got on Fiverr and got serious about it. I had been editing on Fiverr at the time, not taking it seriously at all. Nothing was set up correctly on my profile. It looked, you know, disastrous. And that night after I quit my job, when I went home, obviously panicked in some capacity. I was like, well, there's this site that's made me $40 a month for a couple months. I literally have nothing to lose. And the rest is history. So
what a way to start, right? So you realize you did not enjoy that 9-to-5 lifestyle whatsoever. You know, and to top it off, I mean, you applied to over 200 jobs just to get that one to call you back and say, yeah, come on in. So that's definitely painful, especially after going to school full time to, you know, you really had to work hard to get your degree and you're ready to put it to use only to find that there's just a lack of jobs out there, right? So typical story for a lot of college graduates, right? Especially folks that are going out there and racking up student debt, student loan debt, and they get out to the quote unquote real world and they're like, I can't even get a job with this. And, you know, I have a bachelor's degree, I have a master's degree, I can't even get a job. And that's some of the harsh reality that a lot of folks in our generation are facing right now. So you changed it up a bit.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like freelancing is going a little mainstream now, but back in 2015, it definitely was not. So when I kind of dove into this head first, I know a lot of people in my life were like, what is she doing? Or what even is freelancing? Like, nobody would even know what it was when I would say it to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not until you actually point out what you're, you know, physically show them what you're doing, will they really understand, right? If you just say, I'm a freelance writer or anything like that, you know, a lot of people will probably associate freelancing with being like a freelance journalist, because that's probably the most common thing you hear about, being like a freelance journalist or a freelance photographer. You don't hear much about people being freelance writers on Fiverr or like just, you know, taking all these side gigs and everything. And the fact that you're able to break the mold and do something different and it worked for you and it's working for thousands of other people as well, you know, and the fact that you're putting out all this great advice on social media. You know, I've been following you now for a little bit and following what you're doing on both Instagram and on TikTok. And I see some of the comments that people leave you, especially the ones that are really getting some great feedback or just like they're getting, they're doing much better for themselves in their own freelance journey, right? From the advice that you've given them, from time-saving tips to writing tips to even tips to where to find like extra help if you need it. So it's been pretty awesome. So one of the things I want to ask you, because since you started, right? You started back in 2016, you said?
Actually, 2015.
Okay, 2015 is when you started on Fiverr, right? Like full time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it was at the end of 2015 it became full time, but I had gotten on there January 2015 just to play around with editing stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. So I guess January or 2016 was your first full year, full time.
Yes.
On there. And if I recall correctly from what I know about you from following you, is that first year you made about 60,000, right?
No, my first year I made like about 40,000.
Okay.
And then the second year I made 60.
Okay.
Somewhere in there. I keep like they all mesh together.
So where are you now? What are you making per year now?
Well, as the CNBC article famously stated, you know, 378K in 2020. Can't hide it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Out there.
Now, speaking of hiding it, I know you've caught a lot of flack also from people that follow you. And as you openly said in one of your videos, people asking you to show receipts, right? Yes. I guess that's what Gen Z is calling it.
Yes,
so
it is.
I'm not sitting here today asking you to prove anything. I've seen what you're doing and I know you're absolutely crushing it. So not going to ask for any of that today because obviously you're doing it. You've proven your receipts, right? So I have some questions I want to ask you some for me personally on the show here. And then I also got questions from folks that I polled on my social media that, because this is a little bit different, I guess a little bit off the cuff from folks I normally bring on the podcast, right? I usually bring on like real estate investors, tax professionals, CPAs, and things like that to talk about, what they're doing with their finances. So bringing you on as a freelancer, somebody who started, I guess a small side hustle to start and now turn this into a full-time career. I'm really excited to see like where you're going with this and where you're taking this, right? Besides what I saw on CNBC, right? So the first question out of that I'd like to ask you is, what are you doing on your journey to or in financial freedom?
Okay, that's a great question. I would say now, as opposed to 5 years ago, right now, I'm putting most of my free time into creating passive income streams, whereas I didn't used to think about passive income really until last year. And, once I kind of got confident in my writing business, I also have a team now. I have other people that I work with. And I know the CNBC thing didn't include that, but I'm being transparent about it. I have people I work with now. So I have more time. I'm trying to create passive income streams. And that's, I think, what leads you to financial freedom, independence, totally.
Absolutely.
But I also believe you can't necessarily start with passive income. I think I'm now able to invest in ebooks and online courses and these things that will just sell themselves forever, because I've taken the time to make a name for myself and become a thought leader and all of these things. So I would say I'm like in the second half of my journey now, getting these products that sell themselves while I'm sleeping, which is the goal. So.
Right on. Yeah. So, the first thing you did was establish yourself, and now you're at a point to where you have enough of an income where you can actually buy passive income producing assets, right?
Exactly.
So Graham Stephan, if you're listening, she's doing exactly what you're saying she should have done on your React video. They just didn't show that on CNBC. So
actually, what's funny, I'm going to go see him in person next week. So
fantastic. Congratulations. That's awesome.
I can't wait. He's great. We've been messaging. He's awesome.
Yeah, no, he is. I've been following Graham for a long time. As a matter of fact, you can ask my wife. She sometimes she's like, is that Graham again? Because every time I'm watching the video, she's like, I just know his voice. I just know it. Between him and Kevin, I'm watching those guys all the time. So no, that's fantastic. So that's one of the things I wanted to ask you too, is what are you doing to invest in some type of passive income? And it looks like you're starting there. I know before we started recording, we were talking about, on the CNBC special, you had mentioned that you were going to buy your own place and maybe like a duplex or something like that, and possibly house hack it, right? Live in one unit, rent out the other. What are you doing with that right now for real estate? Now, if you're going to invest in passive assets, what type of real estate are you looking at?
So actually for right now, I went ahead and bought my own just home. It's a small 2-bedroom home that I adore to death, and I don't want anyone else living in it with me. So my focus is I really want to get into my space 2 days, because I want to start filming a ton of stuff, YouTube and everything. So I'm almost looking at this space as like a studio I invested in that I need so badly. I'm going to set it up in a way where there's amazing backdrops, and it's effortless for me to just churn out all of this content, because, YouTube, evergreen YouTube content, if you get one of those videos to stick forever, that's passive income too. I mean, if you get it, you capture whatever you captured. In the future though, so like once I get all settled in there, once I catch up on all this YouTube content, so I have like thousands of people asking me to make YouTube videos. I'm like, that's what has me the most overwhelmed right now, is actually hate making YouTube videos, but I have to get over it. I've always liked the like tiny home movement. And for anyone who's like listening, I also run a horse trailer bar company with my mom, and we flip campers and horse trailers into mobile bars. So we have an affinity for these like mobile home type of things. So I think what I would like to invest in when I have time, maybe by the second half of this year, is more of like the tiny homes or even trailers around Florida, because there's tons of them. Yeah. And then you just put in like the tiniest effort to make it Instagrammable, throw it up on Airbnb. And it's, I'm one of those millennials. If I see something that's Instagrammable, I book it on Airbnb. I'm not going to lie. Like would be selling to myself.
Yeah, no, that's great. Wow. What a great mindset to have. So it's not just about what you're doing as a freelancer. You have like the whole package when it comes to being an entrepreneur, right? You have the right mindset. you're even doing another business with your mom, flipping these trailers and horse trailers and everything. I mean, that's fantastic. And you said you turn them into mobile bars?
Yeah. So what we'll do is my mom does all the like architecture part of it, but we'll find like a horse trailer that was made in 1972. And the team my mom oversees, these guys, they're all guys, will kind of like refurbish the whole thing, put in a new floor, put inside serving, bars and windows, and then, make it look all nice and everything. And then, we'll sell them predominantly to restaurants who want to be able to serve food outside. And as anyone, everyone knows, because of the last year and the pandemic, all of a sudden being able to sell food out of some like mobile food truck has become like critical. And my mom and I have been doing this for over 2 years now, so we didn't know that this was coming. And all of a sudden, like the pandemic hits and it's terrible in a lot of ways, but then all these people are like, we need these mobile bars and restaurants today. And so my mom and I are like, oh my God, like what's going on?
Yeah, wow. Almost makes me skeptical of, did you start this pandemic or not? No.
Oh my God.
So wow, what a great niche to be in right now with unfortunately with the situation we're in right now, but there's a need, right? You guys found a need, you're acting on it, and now the need is producing income. So well done with all that. That's fantastic. So You're kind of all over the place. I'm very impressed, because a lot of people ask me too with what I'm doing, like, how do you have the time to do this? Because I'm full-time active duty in the Navy. Besides that, I'm also a real estate agent on the side, a finance coach, and I run this podcast. And I love it. Do it all as a one-man team, but minus some of the outsourcing that I do. I did recently just bring on a team to actually do the audio and video editing for the podcast. So I recently outsourced that, but everything up until now has been me, and it's painstakingly time consuming. I totally see the point and see where you're coming from. So I know that you are putting in that hustle. So out of all the things that you're doing right now, because you're doing a lot, what would you say you enjoy the most?
This is going to sound cliche, but I love all of it. I love waking up every day and being in total control of my time. So yes, you could call me a control freak in some way, probably fair, but I don't care what I'm doing. As long as I'm in control of my schedule and my time, I am happy as can be. So from running a freelancing business to mentoring people, to helping my mom, to photography, to recording podcasts, I love all of it, so long as it's on my schedule. But I love being an entrepreneur. I don't know, that might sound corny to people or whatever, but it's the truth. This is authentic me. Like, I just love it. And I love creating new things. I love learning new things. I love creating jobs and hiring people. I think it's all just amazing. And I wake up every day and thank God that I get to do this. And that's why I'm so passionate about trying to share it with other people, because I'm like, you don't have to be miserable your whole life. I'm proof. Listen to me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm very close to the end of my career in the Navy, right? So I'm getting ready to retire from it soon. And that's going to be a nice little pension, right? But at the same time, I'm looking at it from the perspective of, I'm going to finally have the freedom to do some of these other things that I'm doing right now at a much larger scale, right? So I can really try to take my podcast and stuff to the next level. I have a YouTube channel too, which really isn't doing much because I don't post that much content. So I got to work on that. But, and then I can also focus more on being a realtor. And what I'm excited about, between my passive income from my retirement, plus what I get from, rental properties and other investments, my expenses are essentially covered. So I can really do whatever the heck I want. So that's freedom is so important. And when you're sitting here putting that information out and showing people how they can be free, that's probably the best, probably the most rewarding thing. At least for me, that's what it would be. And that's what I'm trying to do here with this podcast and with what I put out on my blog and everything, is I'm trying to show people the same thing. Like, there's another way to do things. There's another way to get yourself set and be financially free. I mean, you don't have to live this penny pinching life to be able to get yourself to a point where you're financially independent and being able to live the life you want to live. There's other ways to do it. You can do some side hustles. There's things you can do to boost your income. There's things you can do to save money. And, that's one of the things I enjoy the most about this, is just being able to provide a service to others. Right. Mm-hmm. And And I feel like, you're kind of the same way when it comes to that mentality. I mean, I just noticed from the videos I watched that you put out, it's not about me. And yeah, like I did this, I did that, but here's how you can do it too. Right. It's no BS. It's not, so I follow a lot of these content producers, right, that put out business content and things like that, similar to you. But a lot of these other ones I find like they just want you to go and get to their page and buy their course or whatever. Now I understand you do sell a course, but that's not your main goal. Say, hey, come buy my course, because you provide a lot of free content that can really get somebody up and started. So I definitely want to say thank you for that, because you're providing a service, you're helping people, and that's the mission that we have here too. So fantastic. Yeah. I know it was kind of cliche, right? You said that when I asked you, what do you enjoy the most? And you said all of it, but you did mention on that CNBC special that you do eventually want to stop doing the Fiverr thing, right? So do you enjoy content creation more and being able to educate and teach others versus doing the actual freelance work itself? Let's take a brief moment to hear from our show sponsors.
What's going on, everybody? So I know there's a lot of busy individuals out there like myself. I find myself sometimes struggling with time management when I'm dealing with things with my blog, my podcast, managing my social media accounts. Sometimes it can be really taxing and time consuming. So one of the things I started doing recently that has been super helpful is outsourcing some of this work to subcontractors and freelancers. And I'm doing that through a website called Fiverr. I have a link in the podcast description below that will take you to Fiverr and give you a discount up to $100 off your first order with them. Check it out. It's been a lifesaver for me. It's been saving me a lot of time and a lot of stress, and I really think it could do the same for you. Check out the link below, or go to www.averagejoefinances.com/Fiverr, Fiverr. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Mike Cav from Average Joe Finances. Just want to talk to you today about Prep Agent. If you're interested in learning how to become a real estate agent and being able to pass the test on your first try, check out Prep Agent. Check out the link below in the show notes or in the video description. Let's get back to today's episode.
I think everything has had a time and a place. So I feel like for the first few years, I was, genuinely enjoying the whole journey of freelancing and learning customer service and learning about myself and how my writing systems and everything. And I just think as a classic entrepreneur, 6 years into it now, you get bored. It's like that's you're probably the same way. Like once you do something for 5 or 6 years, you're like, okay, cool. That was great. I did it. Now what's the next thing I'm going to do? So, you're catching me now at a time where I've come in definitely to my teaching phase of my life. And right now that's what I love doing the most. And I believe that I have more value to give in doing that now than like answering random people on Fiverr every day, which was great for 5 to 6 years. And I wouldn't be, on this if I didn't do that for 5 to 6 years. But now when I'm answering people all day, I am like, okay, for the 4 hours I put into answering people on Fiverr today, I now could be using that time to probably help 50 people change their lives. So I'm almost starting to do weigh that in my head. And it's making me, drift away a bit from the freelance writing and definitely more into the educational side of things. Plus, I would always say to people at some point in my life, I'll be a professor. But now I'd rather do this than be a professor because I have a lot of beef with higher education in our country anyway. So I'm like, this is better to me. I think I'm impacting more people than if I was a professor. I know no hate on any professors listening. My teachers in my life had a really big impact on me, and I still talk to a lot of them. So I'm not hating, but
absolutely. Yeah. The thing is, you're still educating. You're still an educator. Yes, you're still providing that service to others, right?
For sure.
Now, it's funny that you say that. You got kind of you got kind of bored with it. One of the things that I've enjoyed about being in the military is every 3 years I got a new job, right? I'm going somewhere else doing something new. And I think that's what made me be able to sustain and stay this long. But I'm kind of at a point now where I'm like, it's time to go. And I'm coming up on my retirement eligibility. And I'm like, cause I joined at 17 years old, really. So, I'm coming up on that time where I can walk away and collect a check for the rest of my life. So I think I'm about there. So I've got one more tour in me, and I'm staying in Hawaii, thankfully. And
oh my gosh.
So, because I want to stay here. We're going to retire and we're going to stay here in Hawaii. We love it here. It's
That's
amazing.
awesome.
I've got some questions that I pulled my social media on because this is a little bit different type of an interview that I've done on my show before. And right away, I mean, you were outed right away. Once I put like some of the details up, one of my friends knew exactly who you were. And she said, I can't believe you're interviewing Alex. So I've got one of her questions here too, but I'm not going to name any names on here, but when they hear this air, they'll know when their question was asked. So if you're ready, I'd like to ask you some questions that some curious minds on social media had for you.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So the first question is, did you use any kind of software or Autobot to write any of your content?
No, I have never done that in my life, but I have actually had some AI writing companies reach out to me in the last month and ask me if I would consider training their bots.
Wow. Okay.
So I've been contacted in the back end of it, but I can tell you right up until today, I have never once in my life used a software generating tool ever. And if you know me, you would actually know I'm quite tech challenged. I don't even know how to use this podcast mic correctly. So if you knew me in person, you would know there are no bots being used here.
Awesome. Same person had another question too. So have you ever written anything on passive investments such as an apartment syndication?
No, I've written an ebook for a client just on building an Airbnb business. I've written ebooks just on 10 ways to make passive income. I wrote an ebook on drop shipping. I've written on affiliate marketing, all of it, but I don't know about that specific topic. I've written so many things. I can't even remember them all, honestly.
All right. Well, maybe I'll have to send him your way so he can have you do one on that. So what's really cool about that is when you're writing these ebooks, you're doing the content research, right? You're researching the topic and before you write on it. So this is a personal question for me. So how much have you learned just by doing some of these jobs?
That's, I think, what makes freelance writing so amazing for me. And because I need things to be changed up, I can't have everything be the same every day or I get bored, like I said. And no 2 days are the same because I learn brand new things every single day for clients. And I think that's my most favorite part of it. It's not even the writing. It's how many random things that I know about. And my most favorite thing is I actually can almost tell when there's going to be a market surge in something because I'll get an increase in that particular topic and what people will book with me. And I love that. Like, I love being in the know of what's up and coming or what's going to be big next year. I love that part of it. That's my favorite part. Yeah.
Okay. That's really cool. So sorry, that was me. That wasn't a question. Okay. So here's another one. Where did you train and how do you stay creative with the pressure of running a business? And what do you outsource and what won't you outsource?
Okay. All right. That was a bunch. Let me start with the first one. So that was where did I train?
Yes. Where did you train and how do you stay creative with the pressure of running a business? Yeah, I hit you with a twofer. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So for my first working year when I was 21, I worked at the New York State Assembly and I wrote press releases for politicians. So that's what you would call, I guess, my formal training, but that's all that it was. And then that was it. So everything else that I do is completely self-taught. And that's why I try and share my mindset with people because they think they need to have, all these certificates or whatever. And I'm like, guys, I didn't have any of that. Okay. Don't feel that you need, all these special things. So that's where I guess you would say my, foundational training was. What was the next part of that one?
Okay, so the next part was, what do you outsource and what won't you outsource?
Okay, so I'm at a point where I will outsource pretty much any kind of my projects. But when I say outsource, it's to my team of writers. So it's not like I'm sending it to some anonymous people halfway around the world I don't know. There are two people that I know quite well, and they're both in New York State, actually. So they're just my team. So I will have them write just about anything. The only things that I still won't send to them is if it's a special client to me that I've been working with for 3, 4, 5 years. Then, they obviously know my writing and my tone and everything. So if it's a reoccurring buyer like that I've had all this time, I hang in there with them. But for everything else, I will at times use my writers. It depends my week. Like next week, if I have to fly out west, I'll have to rely heavily on them. Whereas this weekend, one of them was busy, so I did all the writing today. So it's kind of a like everyone holds their own type of situation.
Okay, right on. That's really neat. And now, for clarification, when you first started off, it was just you.
Yes.
There was no team.
No, it was just me through 4 years. The team is very new. The team's in under the last 2 years. So I always say to people who want to come for me, I did hit 6 figures on Fiverr by myself. I can show you the receipts since everyone needs them. And also for the record, that CNBC thing, they needed 8 of my bank statements and like 2 of my tax returns they looked at. And like,
oh, wow.
I gave them everything. So when people are like, show the tax return, I'm like, I actually did. It was shown.
Fantastic. Okay, here we go. I got another question for you. It is, let me see. Oh, this was probably a joke, but one person wrote, why don't I just hire you to come up with the questions and then answer them? And so I'll answer that. I thought about it, but anyway, next one is, how do you go about, this is a good one, I think. How do you go about charging what you're worth and not what the going rate is?
Okay, so this is like a tough love and answer because I get this question a lot and I have to get a little tough with this with people. This idea that this sounds harsh, but this idea that you're worth not anything, but when you're first starting out in anything that you do, you have to prove your keep. You can't just, come out of college and say, I'm a life coach and I'm worth $10,000 an hour. Well, says who and based on what? So if you're going to use a freelancing site like Fiverr or Upwork, you have to prove your worth. You have to earn your keep there. You can't just waltz on and say, well, I've decided that I'm worth $50 an hour. Again, says who? That's determined actually on Fiverr by how many 5-star reviews you have and how many past orders you've completed and how good your review average is and everything like that. That will determine what you charge. So, kind of any idea that you're worth anything, I tell people to kind of check at the door with freelancing because you do have to put your time in. And I'm very transparent about that on my social media. This is not a get rich quick scheme. It's a very long-term investment type of situation in yourself and your skills. So really, when you're starting out, you are not worth anything that you might think you're worth. But if you keep your head down and you work really hard and you follow all these tips, there's no reason why a year or two from now, you can't be charging what you think you're now worth, but you have to earn that keep. And I have to like find like a nicer way to say that, but that's it. Yeah.
No, you don't. I absolutely love that answer.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no, absolutely love that answer because it's real. It's a realistic answer. It's expectations, right? Just because you think you know it all, or you think, I'm going to put in all this hard work. I deserve this. I'm entitled to this. Doesn't mean squat. So no, absolutely love that answer. I think it's right on the mark. So
perfect.
Okay. Let me see. I got one more. Let me see. What's the best way for a business to get the most out of working with you?
Okay. So, like any random business on Fiverr, are they saying like if they were going to work with me?
They're not too specific. I think I guess if anybody was going to come to you individually, like let's say I wanted to outsource something and I was going to send it to you to write. How would I get the most, bang for the buck? Well, maybe not bang for the buck. I don't think that's what they meant, but what is the most that I would get out of working with you? I think I know the answer to this.
I guess I'm confused because in my head I'm about to answer on like what a business should do so that I'm able to fulfill their requirements to the best of my ability. Am I interpreting that right?
I was thinking more along the lines of, for me, I think it's the value that you provide, right? It's the experience and it's, especially since you started at the very bottom when you started at Fiverr, working your way up to level 2, level 1, and then pro, right? I think that's the best thing that they're going to get by working with someone like you is the experience that you're bringing to the table, that you've been doing this for a while.
Okay. Yeah. I would say yes to that. And also probably yes to my customer service skills at this point, because after 6 years of customer service as an anonymous provider, because Fiverr is anonymous, so it's tricky customer service. It's not normal. I would say at this point, I am like a lean, mean customer service machine on there. And I have totally managed to separate my personal feelings and emotions from my customer service. Like they have been completely separated. When I first started out, they're like this. And that's the earning your keep part, is learning how to do this. Pull it out. Because if they tell you your blog sucks, you have to just not take that personally. And that took a long time for me to get to that point. But now that I think I've been able to separate them and compartmentalize them, I feel like I'm a dangerous person.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got that particular skill set and that's what makes you dangerous, right? So yeah. That's great, because you have to be able to separate or remove your feelings, your personal feelings from work and from what it is that you're doing. I definitely feel that the same way with dealing with folks as a real estate agent, also as a finance coach. Like I've heard some harsh things, but I separate that stuff from what I'm doing, and I just focus on getting the job done and taking care of my clients. So
100%. And
fantastic. Yeah. Okay. So now back to my questions. We're done with the social media questions. So this is, so we kind of spoke about this a little bit. I know you're looking to now, you're buying your home, you're going to get settled in and everything. And then you're looking to later this year, maybe purchase some rental properties, right? I believe you mentioned like short-term rentals. So are there any other asset classes that you personally invest in? Like, do you buy any paper assets like stocks or anything like that?
I actually last week for the first time bought some crypto. I caved. I bought some Ethereum only because I want to make NFTs. The artist in me is interested in NFTs. Yeah, I bought a tiny bit of Bitcoin. That's it. I don't really I'm not really into the stock market. I tried it. And it's just, I don't know. I don't have the time, I guess, or it's never been something that I'm interested in. But I will say, I have invested my money into drop shipping. I have a drop shipping business that my cousin actually runs for me, and I pay him. And I'm investing in like the growth of this drop shipping business, and it is increasing every month. So I'm really happy with it, and he's doing a great job. And he actually told me about YouTube automation. So we went in together on this account, or Caleb Box, his name is. They sell these YouTube accounts that are built from scratch, and they create professional news videos. So I think the channel that I own is a celebrity news channel. You would never know that I own it. And you pay upfront for it. And each year, the hopes is that the evergreen content, everything in these videos, one of them starts to stick, and then that will then create returns for you for the rest of your life. So
once it gets monetized.
Yeah. So those are, I prefer to invest my money that way, just because that's just me. That's my personality.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, and it's an income producing asset too. Once, especially if you get a YouTube channel that's monetized. And once you actually start your own YouTube channel, I'm pretty sure you'll have no problem getting to 1,000 subscribers and getting monetized.
I have it. Yeah, I actually have it with horrible videos on it, and it's up to like 4,500 subscribers, and I feel terrible because my videos are so bad that I'm like, you guys, please don't unfollow me. Hang in there.
It's coming, I promise.
Yeah.
Well, pretty soon you'll be able to move into your place and you'll get your studio set up and you'll be able to crush it.
Yeah. So. Oh yeah. With the help of people who are going to edit the videos for me, because that is not happening here, but I can record it, and that's about it.
Yeah. That's what I'm doing now too. Like I just had to bring on a team for that because I don't have the time to do it anymore. It's painstaking. So awesome. So I think that's it for all the questions I have. I have one more, and this is probably the most important question, right? Especially with you being big on social media and a social media influencer. I consider you a social media influencer. So that would be, where can people find more information about you? Can you share your website with us, your social media, your podcast?
Sure. I would say my website has links to basically everything that I do. It's just alexfasulo.com. I mean, I'm all over the place with my stuff. There's obviously, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok. I would say to anyone who's listening to this, if you're starting out with freelancing or you're about to, I would join my free Facebook group, because it's definitely an incredible and resourceful little community in there. I say little, it's up to like 4,700 members now, but it totally operates with or without me. It's like I created it, and it's like its own little city, and I just watch it from the hill now, and I just step in case anyone's acting up. But I would recommend joining that Facebook group. I think it's the most helpful thing out there if you're starting freelancing, and it's called Freelancing Mentorship with Alexandra Fasulo.
Yeah. Awesome. I joined that group recently.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to see what
okay.
So yeah, definitely some good information in there.
Yeah.
I run a Facebook group too, and
Okay.
not nearly as many people as you. I have 1,100 in mine, but yeah, I love having the small community, right, where people can just chat with like-minded people and just and continue doing what they're doing. It's awesome.
It's totally awesome. Yeah, my group has hit a point now where people are posting jobs, so it's like people are getting hired inside of the group. I'm just
That's so cool.
up. Yeah, I'm
That's
like, this
is
incredible. This is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at what you created. That's awesome.
I know.
Alex, this has been an absolute pleasure. I really enjoyed this conversation. It's a little different from the way we normally do things, but I thought it was incredible. So
thanks
for coming on today.
Thank you for having me on. I had fun. This was a fun chat.